I'm Sundar Uncle. I'm from Cleveland. So thank you all for giving me this opportunity. And of course, Sairam Amrita. She's also here for the session. Sairam. Thank you all for this opportunity. Thank you, Anu Auntie, for giving me this chance. Well, what the way I like to format this, we have about 50 minutes or so. The way I like to do it is I'll take about 15-20 minutes to share some thoughts, and then let's open it up for Q&A. Because the whole point is if I just keep talking, I wouldn't know if I've reached you or not. So I would like you all to give me a feedback or ask questions based on what I've presented, or if there's any other question in your mind, I'll see if I can help. So what is it that I want to talk about? Let me start with a small incident with Baba. Many years ago, when I was in my 20s, I loved playing ping pong or table tennis, the way you refer to it here. I guess in the US you call it ping pong, right? We used to call it table tennis. And that was and still is my favorite game. So we used to play it for hours together. And so we got a brand new table tennis table for our gymnasium back in the college in Puttaparthi, in the ashram. And guess what? Baba decided to come and see. What are you guys making so much fuss about this game? Let me come and see how you guys play, he said. So he came and he saw us playing for a few minutes. And then in the evening, he called some of us into his room and he was talking and he said, when I was your age, that is, Baba was in his 20s, he said, I also used to play ping pong. And there are actually some really good pictures where Baba would visit a devotee's house. The devotee was Raja Venkatagiri in India, and he would lift his robe with one hand and he had the ping pong bat in the other hand and he would play table tennis. So Baba would say, I could also play table tennis. I know how to play table tennis. I could beat you all any time, and so on. And we all had a good laugh. And then he shared something very, very profound, I thought. And I want to share that with you all, and then we'll take it from there, about something that you and I and all of us here could use in our everyday life. So what was that he said? So he was describing the game, right? If you know, there is a net across the table and the ball doesn't go into the net, it has to go slightly over the net and so on. So he said, the rules of the game. Baba is talking to us, right? The rules of the game. You got to hit the ball in such a way that it doesn't go into the net. If you hit a little too high, it goes outside the table. Both you lose points and you need to have control. And so then he asked us, so when you are focusing, how do you do that? How do you practice? And we started explaining, Swami, that this is a chop and this is a swing, and we kind of take our arm and do this and that. And we were trying to demonstrate, and he had a good laugh. He said, I'll tell you a simple trick, he said. And we were all ears. And he said, the way to play the game and control the ball is not in the arms and swing and your eyes on the other side of the table. Your attention should be on the angle of your wrists. It's all about the wrist movement. A flick of the wrist in the wrong angle could send the ball either into the net or beyond the table. It's all about the wrist, he said. Now, mind you, these are days before Google and YouTube and all of that. So we were kind of picking things up on our own. So we were listening, we were saying, wait a minute, what is it about wrist? And then he made a very beautiful point. He said, if the angle of the wrist is very slightly less than a degree, if it's slightly lower, then when you hit the ping pong, you may be looking there on the other side of the net, but the ball is going to go into the net. There is no way it can go over the net. If your angle is a little too high, like so, and then you hit the ball, you may be looking at the ball and at the space across the net where you want it to reach, but just because of you looking there, it's not going to go. Why? Because your hand is pointing in a different angle, and therefore the ball goes outside. And so Baba said, so what is therefore the secret of playing well? It is a slightest change in the angle of your wrist that takes care of where the ball goes. Don't worry where the ball goes. Pay attention to your wrist. And then, so this was clear, right? So he asked us, are you understood? We said, yes, yes. And then he said, listen to this carefully. He said, this is what it is with everyday life too. If you take care of the small things in life, then the big things take care of itself. Where the ball wants to go, how do you want the ball to land, is how you want to spend your life. What do you want to do in life? Where you want to go in life. This is the time for you to dream, to visualize. And it applies to you too, right? And all of us at any age, but especially when you're anywhere between 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, I think the whole life is ahead of you. And you can open and dream whatever you want to do in life. But those big dreams, will they manifest or not? It all depends on the little things that we do every day. And this was the basis of what he taught. He said, if your little things don't find fruition, the little steps that you take in your everyday life, if there is no discipline in that everyday life, in the little things that you do, like you get up from the bed and you just throw the bed sheets and walk away, and you're not doing your bed, he said. A simple thing like, in those days we didn't have a cot or a bed, we literally had just a blanket that we would spread and lie down in one pillow and a sheet on the floor. He said, if you all get up and not fold it back and put it back neatly, a small thing. You might say, what has that got to do with my big things? But that's the whole point. If you and I cannot take care of the small things, let's say we brush our teeth and we fling the toothbrush away, we are mindless about the towel that hangs on the rack, or we just don't have time for these little things. Our room is a little messy, so what? I'm so busy, I don't have time to clean up. But when I don't take care of those little things, that little mess that is in my room becomes the little messes in my mind. They settle down as the confusion and the doubts and the conflicts that I have, and they all begin to manifest as I grow, because I allowed room for that. Now, this is a very well understood aspect of psychology today. They say clean your closet, you clean your mind. Now they begin to understand the link between what goes on in your everyday life is actually a reflection of who you really are, right? And so for me, I took that to heart. I'm not perfected it yet. I dare not say I've perfected it. But I try to be mindful, and that's the word I want you to take home. So if you have a pen and paper, write down the word mindfulness. I want us to be mindful. I try to be mindful about the little things. Do I remember to say thank you? Do I remember to sit straight when I have to sit straight? Do I remember to be disciplined when I have to be disciplined? Do I practice cleanliness in places and at times where cleanliness is important, right? Small little things. And those small little things will pave way for the bigger things in life. The small little things are what you do in the privacy of your aloneness. Write that down also. You're not doing it to show off to anyone else. Nobody needs to see you. Nobody even needs to know. But when you are alone, am I mindful? There is no such thing as good and bad. I'm just asking you to be mindful of how I sleep, how I do, how's my room, how's tidy is, the little things, how I eat from the plate. What do I do when do I just throw it in the sink? Do I make an offer to help? If I cannot help my mom, for example, then how am I going to do great service in life later? Because I have already built an excuse. I don't have time for this. It's boring for me. I don't want to do this. But yet I want to dream of doing great things. It won't work. It might work for a little bit, but in the long run, it won't. But if I say, all right, let me help a little bit in the chore today. Hey mom, what can I do to help? Can I walk the dog if you have a pet at home or something? It doesn't have to be boring. You can pick up something interesting. But if you do it mindfully and you find joy in that, all of that builds in building a very powerful personality. So the first thing that I really want to share with you all, which I learned not as young as you are today, but when I was in my mid-20s, it has truly helped me to a large extent. For example, I try to be an example of health and fitness. So I pay a lot of attention to what kind of food I eat. I cannot be mindless there. I cannot say, oh, nobody is watching. I'm going to quickly eat a chocolate bar. And nobody watches me when I'm alone. I'm alone most of the time. I mean, my wife is working and I'm alone. So I can eat as many chocolates as I want. Nobody can see it. But then how is that going to help me be an example of fitness, for example, right? It's not. I'm going to develop at some level some kind of problem that's going to relate to, hey, listen, by the way, sir, you have been eating too many chocolates, will say the doctor. The point is mindfulness. If you're mindful, then you will be able to achieve the biggest things in life. That was, is, and forever will be the basic foundation of anything you want to do in life. So pay attention to the small things. The small things is what makes the big things. Will Smith talks of the same thing as well. Will Smith, you all know, Hollywood actor. He talks about the same thing as well. I was listening to one of his talks and he was strangely correlating this to what Baba was saying. I think it was Will Smith or Tony Robbins, I'm not sure, one of them. I listened to them, I like their philosophies. So anyway, he was talking of a golf club, and he says if the golf club is slightly tilted in the wrong angle, the ball is going to go way out, way away from where you intended it to go. So it's all about 2 millimeters. The fact that you can achieve or not achieve depends on the 2 millimeter angle. The small little changes that you do makes big changes in your life. So if you are, let's say, impatient at certain things, or you get angry, right? Those little things are going to become big, major stress factors in life. Think of that. Just think about that and see how I can become mindful. Hey, see, why am I getting stressed on little things? Because if I get stressed at little things now, then my mind will know the only way to react to something I don't like is through stress and fighting it and resisting the moment, because I don't like the moment, the way it presents itself to me. And so by building resistance is the only way I train my mind. Can I become more mindful and say, wait a minute, why am I resisting this just because I don't like it? Is there a better way to deal with it? Figure out a better way. You can, I'm sure you can. Every one of us has a very unique way to bring out what you really, your inner talent. So that leads me to the second point. These are the 2 points I want to stop with once I make the second point, and then we'll open it up for discussion. So the first one is mindfulness, all right? Mindfulness, where you pay attention to the small things in life. Are you willing to, can you pay attention to the small things? And what are the small things that you can pay attention to, or you could add quality to? The small little things. And Baba paid attention to the small things. I watched him for more than 15 years, believe it or not. And it was the little things that he paid attention to which gave me a window into how he could achieve so much more in his one single lifetime. It's not easy to influence more than 1 million people, much more than 1 million people. And it's not just being popular. You might say, oh, everybody else is also popular and so many more millions know them. This is not popularity I'm talking about. Baba's influence is at the heart level and at many dimensions. So that kind of achievement in one's lifetime was made possible by him, and he set as an example of simply by paying attention to the small things. He wanted to give a gift to my mother, a sari. He could have picked up any sari. There were thousands of saris lying there in his room, in one of his rooms. It's more like a storage place where he would donate the saris to people for different occasions and so on. So it was my father's 60th birthday, so he picked up a dhoti for my father. And he picked up a sari. He wanted to pick up a sari for my mother. So he went to that cupboard where the saris were kept, and he looked at all the saris and he said, well, wait a minute, Sundar Iyer's mother, her skin tone is like me, it's a little dark. So what kind of sari can I pick up to suit her skin tone? And when I heard this, I wasn't there, but the person who was next to Swami, who actually brought the sari and gave it to my mother, told me the story. I was perplexed. I was like, wait, what? He said, yeah, he actually took time and picked up a color that will actually suit your mother's skin tone. That is being mindful of a small act. He could have picked up any sari. and given it to my mom, my mother would have been extremely happy seeing Baba gave her a sari. But even in that act of giving, he brought in quality. And that was the beauty. That's why he achieved the biggest acts of giving, selfless acts of giving. And these are things which was done behind the camera. Nobody knows these stories. You would have never heard of this story except from me, because I got to hear it firsthand, right? So pay attention to the small things. Then the second one I learned from Baba, a very powerful message which I never get tired of telling, because every time I tell my audience that story, I tell it to myself. I need to remember it. Celebrate your uniqueness. You have to celebrate your uniqueness. Write that down. Celebrating my uniqueness. What does that mean? Have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror? You're going to say, yeah, come on, uncle. Of course, some of us love to be in front of the mirror. All right. Now, instead of worrying about the acne or the pimple on your cheek or whatever it is, have you ever looked into the eyes of the person looking across you in the reflection and said, wow, there is no one else like this person. In other words, like me, no one else like me in this world. Have you ever thought about that? Or have you ever said that to yourself? There is no one else like me in this world. Now, I know your parents would say, oh, you're a 1 in a million, my child. And your teacher might say, oh, you're a 1 in 10 million, my child. Right? Lakhon mein ek. But it's not 1 in a million, not 1 in 10 million. The world population is 7 trillion. And compared to all the species, there's trillions of life, living beings. But guess what? There is no one like you. No one like you. Let that sink in. No one like you. You have come into this world with something very unique that belongs only to you. Celebrate that uniqueness. Most of us, I don't know what the cause is, whether it is education or whether it is the advertisements or whether it is what my friends say or what my parents say. I don't know what the cause is. I'm not going to get into that. But most of us, what happened, we end up comparing ourselves with somebody else. Oh, I wish I was as tall as her. Oh, I wish I had such long hair. Oh, I wish I was bald like Sundar uncle. Well, I know you're not thinking that, but I wish you do someday. Anyway, so my point is, I wish I was like that. Oh, I wish I had that iPad that this my friend has. Oh, I wish I had a phone like them. I wish I had this like them. And you start comparing. Not about just position. I wish I was like that. Why am I dark? Or why am I fair? Or why am I this? And why am I that? And we begin to compare. In that comparison, we lose what? You lose your uniqueness. Every great leader that has walked this earth had this one quality. And I can speak of one because I have personally witnessed. Everybody else, I've only read about it. So I cannot vouchsafe for them. But I can speak for Baba because I watched him. Guess what Baba's life is? He's grown up in a village. You guys are growing up in the United States. He grew up in a village and in a school that was barely giving any education back in 1920s. So he dropped out of school. I wouldn't blame him because there was hardly anything that he was learning in school. So he dropped out of school. I'm not giving you an idea to drop out of school. I'll get into serious trouble. Anu auntie might just shut me off right now if I do that. So I want to make it clear. It's not the dropping out of school. It's that he had no education. Was his father therefore rich and famous in the village or something? Was he a village headman, his parents? No. They were just very ordinary people. He had every excuse to be yet another village boy who will perhaps find a job taking a cattle of some rich villager and morning for grazing and bringing the cattle back, or sheep, as it is more popular than cattle in those parts of the India. He could have been very satisfied with that. But at the age of 13, 14, at your age, he decided to do something big with his life. How did that happen? Okay. Oh, if I need to do big, right? If you are asked to do something, first you will say, all right, I need my computer, I need my laptop, I need to have social media, I need to have contacts, I need to contact everyone, I need to have this and that, and we make a big list of what I need to have in order to achieve something. And what if I tell you, you will have none of this, can you still achieve? And you will say, impossible, it's impossible to work because I don't have anything. And the greatest leaders are those who worked with nothing and achieved the biggest things in life. That is because they knew that there was something in them that nobody could take away from them. Your uniqueness. What that is, I don't know. Don't ask me what's so unique about me. You have to take time and ask, what is it that I want to gift to this world with my life? What is it that I want to do with my life? Not because somebody else is doing it, not because somebody else became famous by doing it, not because I want my friends to say, yeah man, that's it, that's cool, you're doing such a great thing. No, I don't want any of that. If it comes, if it comes. If it doesn't come, I don't care. But I want to do something unique. I have a unique gift that I want to offer. Do I have the strength to follow that uniqueness? Do I have the courage to follow my uniqueness? Then you, no matter how tall you are, how short you are, or how black you are, or how white you are, or rich you are, poor you are, all of that really fades into insignificance. When you begin to celebrate your uniqueness, your innermost potential begins to flow through you. You have come into this earth with a particular purpose. The purpose may not be clear, may be clear, I don't know. Take time first to celebrate your uniqueness. Respect yourself. You need to first respect yourself. Everybody else will respect you. Respect your beliefs. Respect your values because you believe in yourself and you respect yourself. Don't compromise on who you are just to fit in with your friends. Sai Baba never compromised on who he was. When he declared, I'm Sai Baba, I want to change the world, when he was 14, you think people patted him on his back and said, yes, my child, we are with you? No. They thought he was possessed. He went crazy. Look at this child. What is he talking? We never heard of this child talking such things. So they took him to an exorcist who cut his head and did all kinds of verbal and physical abuse is what he faced. But did Sai Baba compromise? He said, oh, okay, you know what? This is too much. I can't do it. I'm just going to compromise. Okay, what do you want me to do? I'll do what you guys like. Did he do that? No. He stuck to his uniqueness. That is the beauty that made him great. That is the secret of greatness. Celebrate on your uniqueness. And then you will, and watch how the universe will begin to bow to you, literally. And all the forces will come at your beck and call and say, all right, how do we help this child follow his dreams? How do we help her follow her dreams? Path is not going to be easy, but you will never feel alone. You will find strength, you will find wisdom, and you will begin, and every step of yours will touch millions of lives. So these are the two things I want to stop with and see if you have any feedback, comments, or questions. I'll see if I can answer them. I'm not going to claim I know the answers, but I'll try. But think about these two things. One is be mindful of the small things. Then only the big things will happen. Number two, celebrate your uniqueness. You are a gift to this world. You have come here for a purpose. Never, never let this disastrous idea of, oh, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know, and this idea of low self-esteem and all that bother you. Put that aside. I have come with a purpose. I have some strengths, I have some weaknesses. Let me come face to face, capitalize on my strengths, use them, and work on my weaknesses, make them also strong. So we have a lot of time at this age to think about what I want to do, who I am, and what I want to do, and watch your life unfold. So while I wish each and every one of you the very best in your lives, I will stop and wait for some questions. Okay, so over to you all.
Sairam, So I guess my question is, you talked about how to prevent stress by being mindful over the small things. I kind of have stress. How would I deal with it? Like if I already have it?
I think it's a great question. First of all, the reason for stress is resistance. Every day of our life, we start building a database of likes and dislikes. I like this, I don't like this. Whether it is food, I have certain likes with taste, certain things I don't like. We develop it over a period of time. Whether it is music, I like certain kinds of music, I don't like this. Whether it's TV shows, whether it's movies, whether it is anything, sounds that you listen to, smells that you smell, or tastes that you taste, or things that you see, we all are slowly building a database. And I'm talking of you all. I mean, we have large databases at my age, at 60. You have huge databases. It becomes even more difficult to work because I have built these likes and dislikes. What happens when I start doing likes and dislikes, then I want to get things which I like in my life, and things which I dislike, when it presents itself, I build a resistance to that. And when I build resistance, it becomes stress. So do I have to like everything? No. But I could learn what is called, in Sanskrit, it's called sahana. And in one of the discourses, Swami said, sahana is there a girl named Sahana in your group? No, that's a girl's name, popular girl's name in India. So sahana means tolerance, the capacity to tolerate. And tolerate is not like, somehow bear with this, not that kind of tolerance. Tolerance is perhaps not the right translation. Many of these Sanskrit terms don't have proper way to translate, but let's go with that for now. Instead of resisting and saying, no, I don't want this, I don't like this food, or I don't like this situation, I want to get out of this, oh, this is too much for me, I'm resisting, perhaps there's too much homework, so oh my God, how do I ever do this? So I'm resisting the fact that there is so much work to be done. Can I open my mind to the idea of tolerance? It's not easy. I'm not saying this is easy, all right? But thank you for that question, Amrita. I learn it too. I keep practicing. So instead of making your databases stronger and bigger with likes and dislikes, keep your mind open. Don't make up your mind too much about what you like and what you dislike, especially what you dislike. Because when you dislike something strongly, and if that comes in your life, you begin to resist, and that causes stress. If you can, when that happens, build tolerance and ask yourself, why am I resisting this moment as it is presenting? Why am I hurting myself like this? If there is a task to be done, all right, how do I face it? And if there's a lot to be done, how do I take one step at a time? Let me finish it. But by simply saying, oh my God, how am I going to do it? We are building a lot of stress. Sometimes I get a lot of requests. Oh, I want a yoga workshop here. You want you to speak here, do this, do that. And suddenly my schedule gets so tight and I'm like, oh God, how do I ever, the next week is so tight for me. Then I tell myself, all right, rather than thinking how tight it is, how difficult it is, how tiring it is, I'm going to take that time off and say, all right, let's take one at a time, one step at a time to solve that. Which is the easiest thing I can do right now? Let me finish off those and then take up the little difficult ones later. So I take off the simpler tasks and try and do those simpler tasks. And then it builds my confidence, my enthusiasm. I'll say, okay, it's not too bad. At least I did 70% of, and 30%, okay, it's difficult. Let me take one at a time. Suddenly you will find that you're getting inroads in how you handle stress. Stress doesn't go away ever fully. Stress is not bad. It's good. It motivates you. But when you build resistance and not know how to manage stress, then there's a problem. So learn to manage stress, and the key word for that is tolerance. First, allow sahana or tolerance. Tolerate that situation. Don't resist, don't turn away, don't fight it. At the same time, I'm not asking you to open your arms and welcome that situation. Do I make sense? Thank you for that question.
Yeah, and I also have the same problem. And also, I don't get recognition in team projects. So what should I do for that?
You don't get recognition where?
Can you repeat?
Even in school, I don't get recognition on group projects, not only in school, in other classes too. So what should I do for that?
Why do you think you don't get recognition?
Because I feel like I don't get recognition, yeah.
Okay. I wish I had a simpler answer. You see, if you look within yourself and ask yourself, how can I better whatever is it that I'm doing? If I'm doing a particular project and I'm not getting the recognition, then could I go back home and say, all right, how am I going to do this project in such a unique manner that people are going to turn around and say, oh wow, how did you do that? How did you even think of that? Maybe the universe, maybe the inner soul, your soul is asking you to explore that quality, and maybe it's giving you a chance. If you're just doing a project like somebody else or a little better than somebody else, all of that really doesn't matter. If there's something unique can you bring into that project, I'm sure you can. Whatever that project is, your school projects are, can you make it something very unique? I'm also almost willing to bet that then you are going to get that attention. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Sai Pranav.
Sai, so my question is, how can I stop comparing myself to others? Like, in other words, how do I think in my uniqueness?
Great question. Great question. Thank you. Just stop. Just stop. Love the reflection you see in your mirror. I know it's easier said than done, but it is not that difficult. It gets more difficult if you start encouraging yourself. I'm not talking to a 30-year-old, I'm sure, or a 40-year-old who has spent 40 years of her life just comparing herself with others. And I'm not asking you at that age, I'm asking you at a very young age, right? And so you can easily turn that around. Be confident of who you are. Look into yourself and ask, what is it that I believe in? And be bold to put yourself out there with your beliefs. You know what happens, why we end up comparing ourselves? Because we are afraid of little criticism. If I believe, I don't have to be rude to state my beliefs, right? But if I'm nice and I say, you know what, I don't agree with you. This is why I don't agree with you. And if somebody criticizes me, I'll say, all right, I know what you're saying makes sense, so I'm going to work on it. Thank you so much for your critical feedback. I appreciate it. Then, because you're respecting yourself, you're not saying, how dare, they're all criticizing me, I don't know. No. If that criticism has value, give value and thank this person who's critical about you, because the sharp cut of the chisel is what gives the marble grace and form. So, getting sharp criticism, turn it into a chisel that is carving you into a beautiful personality. Don't be afraid of a little criticism. Don't be afraid to think out of the box. Most of us, most of the ordinary people in life, if you look around, they have called what is called sheep mentality. Oh, everybody is doing this, I also have to do. I'd like to do something different, but everybody is doing. For example, Amazon, you want to buy something. You like something, but then you look at, oh, what is the rating? Let me see. You like all the features that they have described, you liked everything. It's good to see others' rating, it's good to see what others are saying, but don't let what others think define what you really want. You can still go and try that product and say, you know what, yeah, I know what these people are saying, maybe they don't like it, but I feel I want to try this. You try, make your own opinion about that product. A small little example, right? Thus what happens is, you are allowing your uniqueness to come out. Wait a minute, I know you all didn't like this movie, but that doesn't mean I should also not like this movie. Maybe there are some parts of it I really liked. Maybe I did like the movie, which my friends didn't like. So can I stick to what I liked? Or should I also say, oh yeah, I didn't like the movie, but when I really liked. So am I compromising on who I am in order to fit in? We want to fit in with our friends. It's not a bad idea. But then what happens is, because we want to fit in, because we want more likes for our posts on social media, we want more people to comment nicely about us, we begin to compromise on who we are. We may become popular for a little while, But then when you're alone, who are you then? You've become somebody else, right? Does that help? You might ask. Why not? Why can't we be like somebody else? Well, here's the problem. George Bernard Shaw said, at 20, you don't care what others think. At 40, you're always afraid of what others think. At 80, you will realize others really didn't think about you at all. The only person who cares about you in this world is you. You should care about yourself. Don't wait for others to care about you. You care about yourself, respect your beliefs, and keep an open mind to learn. There is nothing wrong in being humble to accept a mistake when you have made a mistake. You don't have to pretend as if you didn't make a mistake. Because I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And therefore, what will happen is when you give respect to yourself, that is self-respect, you will automatically learn. That's what I mean by you will celebrate your uniqueness. People will begin to follow you. Trust me, it works like magic. Just be yourself. Don't be afraid of a little criticism. At the same time, be humble and be willing to accept criticism and improve yourself if there is room for improvement. If somebody sings and I say, okay, you know what, you didn't sing, you could have worked on this a little bit. Rather than saying, oh, I know I've learned singing so much, they don't even know about Western singing, I know about Western singing, and I block myself, then I've stopped learning. I'm not even given a chance for me to improve. Say, oh, is it? Okay, I'll think about it. And then you go home and say, oh, wait a minute, how did that sound awkward to that person? Is there a way I can improve myself? And guess what? You will find a room for improvement. There's always room for improvement and growth, but don't close yourself. So then what happens is you'll be thankful, if not at that moment, at some point you'll be thankful for that critical comment. Thus, where there is room for improvement, be thankful for criticism. Don't shy away from criticism. Don't be afraid of criticism. This is how you will learn, and you should learn, because you are unleashing the inner potential within you. But if you close doors to who you are and try to become like somebody else, then that's a problem. It's going to be a problem at some point in life. You'll be very disillusioned because you'll be taking courses which you never really wanted. It was not you, but you did it because somehow, I don't know, everybody was forcing me in my family. I saw my uncle and my cousins and I also wanted to do this. And now I'm like, I don't know. Why? Because you never got at this age a chance to really say, what are my options in life? What is it I really want to do? And ask yourself that, and you will find ways, small little things where you begin to express yourself, and you will gather respect for that. You will, I have no doubts about it. Thank you for that question.
Okay, so my question is, how do we find the balance of paying attention to the little things and then being a perfectionist, which can like lead to anger when like something doesn't go like perfectly in the way you want it to?
That's a great question. There's something called Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder, right? OCD, is that right? Where you are obsessed. It's a great question but that is not mindfulness. That's an obsession. Mindfulness is being aware. For example, if I have really, really no time, I can mindfully say, you know what? I can do this tomorrow, tidying up my room. I don't have to do it now. But you have to be mindful of that. Not say, I don't know, and then it becomes a habit before you realize untidy room is a habit. Why? Because every time I look at an untidy room, I say, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. So then from that point, it becomes mindless. And then it's natural to have an untidy room. But if I am mindful, I say, you know what? I would like to clean the room, but I am so tired today. I want to keep this for tomorrow. And then the next day you clean it. An obsessive-compulsive disorder or a perfectionist will say, I'm too tired, but oh gosh, I can't stand it. And they'll go out of their way to do it. And then they end up sleeping less and this and that becomes a problem. So it's a narrow line. It's not a thin line, it's a narrow line. And you have enough room to decide, am I being obsessed with this idea, or am I just being mindful of this idea? So it's a very good question. You will know it if you're being unnecessarily obsessed with an idea, or you can say, you know what, this is good enough for this particular for a particular project at hand, you will know how much of quality I want to give in. And you say, okay, this with the available resources at this time, limited resources of time, limited resources of available things that I have, I'm going to do my best with this, all right, and I'll put my hard effort into that. The idea of perfection is in your imagination, so don't chase perfection. That's why I didn't use the word perfection in whatever you do. I asked you to be mindful in what you do. They are two different things. Okay, so I hope I was clear. It is not a very distinct difference, but there is enough to differentiate between being mindful and being obsessive about certain things.
Now this question relates to the first question I asked.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example. So there's a guy called, there's a soccer player in my school, and he beat me in a race, so he just criticizes me every time he sees me. And also, no, it doesn't include me in his games. He just neglects me. Even if he includes, he just criticizes me more, and it makes me feel bad. It makes me want to cry.
Okay.
What should I do for that?
Sai Pranav, right? Sai Pranav, I think it's a great question, a great situation. Let me see how I can help you. Something for you to consider. I may not have the right answer, but let's see. Now, you are perhaps looking for appreciation from that person, and you're not getting that appreciation. And that's my whole point. When I do something, if I like what I am doing, I really don't need appreciation from somebody else. It is possible that that person needs your love and your appreciation, because sometimes people can react like that to you or behave like that with you simply because they are insecure. So they need more attention and love than you. So rather than waiting for him to appreciate you, I'm going to ask you to consider something which may not be easy, but think about that. You be the one to appreciate him. You be the one to say, hey, that's a good move you made, man. I have to learn a lot from you. Thank you. And maybe that will work.
Yeah.
But don't sit back and wait for people to appreciate you. Don't sit back and wait for people to be nice to you and then say, if they are not nice to me, why should I be nice to them? Then you are being exactly like them, exactly like what you don't want. You become what you don't want. Let me give an example. I was with a friend who came to visit us in Cleveland, and then we went to Walmart and we were waiting in the line to check out, and he was like, oh, these Americans, they don't even smile at you. They're always looking at you suspiciously. I was like, what? Wait, where did you get this idea from? He was like, I don't know. Everywhere I go, you also see it now. I said, I never experienced that. They said, no. Every time they're like that. So I said, why don't you go take the cart and go ahead. I'll watch. I'll see what happens. So he's taking the cart and he goes and he's looking at her like this and he's looking at me like this, looking at her like this. And I was like, why is this guy behaving so weird? And obviously that girl felt odd. She didn't greet him. And I was behind. I said, how are you doing? She said, thank you. How are you? And this guy didn't respond. And then when we finished checkout, he said, did you see that? How she just didn't look at me, didn't smile at me. I said, wait a minute. You missed the whole point. You are looking at her suspiciously. She is more scared of you than you are scared of her. Why don't you be the first one to greet? And so I said, let's leave this in the car, come back and simply pick up a milk can. This time you simply greet. Just for my sake, please do this. What do you mean? Actually smile and say hello. What if they don't smile back? I said, so what? You're not going to lose anything, right? So we picked up a milk can and came back, not to that same counter. We went to another counter and I said, you go ahead and just say, hi, how are you doing? So he went, placed the milk can and said, good evening, how are you? She said, oh, thank you, how are you doing? And he didn't know what to answer because he wasn't prepared for a smiling greeting. So we had a good laugh. Then he said, oh gosh, I made a mistake, man. I said, yes, sometimes in life we wait for good things to happen to us. We wait for others to recognize us. Sometimes maybe they need that recognition. Maybe you could be the one to recognize. You be the bigger person. You stretch out your hand to give and you will automatically receive as well. Think about that. Make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you. Good question. We have about 5 minutes. Maybe time for one more question, if there is.
Sairam, so how do I differ between what challenges I should actually take part in and where I should put my mind and effort into in my daily life?
Again, a wonderful question. When you have a challenge, you'd ask yourself, when you don't want to take up, you would ask yourself, and only you will know this answer in the aloneness, in your aloneness, in your room, sit down and ask yourself, am I not taking up this challenge because I'm afraid of something? Am I not doing it because I'm afraid of failure? If that is the case, then you must take up the challenge and be okay with not succeeding. Failure is when you give up effort. If you don't give up effort and you're willing to try again and again, you're succeeding with every step. Failure also comes when you're very successful. When you say, oh, I succeeded, you're failed actually. Why? Because you've closed your mind to further growth. So failure is actually a very good thing. Am I giving up this challenge because I'm afraid of failing? Am I giving up this challenge because I'm afraid of, wait a minute, what will people think if this doesn't go the right way, right? If somebody's asking you to speak in public, am I going to say, nah, I'm not cut out for that. I'm just closing my mind at a young age. Am I already closing my mind to public speaking simply because I don't know, I don't want to make a fool of myself? Then you have to ask yourself, that is the ghost you have to face in your closet. You have that ghost in your closet. You have to say, all right, I need to work on this. So if public speaking, I'm just giving an example, then ask your family and say, how can I speak to smaller groups? Practice. Get over that fear. And then you might be the very best public speaker that you never knew you had that talent within you. Sometimes these challenges, the universe presents these to you only because there must be something hidden inside you that needs to come out, express itself, find that, give a chance. Yet, there is another side. If you don't have any experience and there's a life-threatening event that somebody is challenged, hey, can you jump from the 5th floor of this building? It's common sense to say, I'm not that crazy. It's okay. I'm not going to do such crazy things. So that's common sense, right? Oh, hey, can you catch this cobra? No. Why? Because I'm not crazy. That's good, right? Use common sense. But if there are certain things which you are afraid for really nothing is going to, your life is not going to end because 4 people laugh at you. Come on. You got to be brave enough to take that in your stride. And you have that courage to do that. So those are the challenges you should say, you know what, I'll take up this challenge. It's okay if I fail, at least I will know. And for the most part, you may not even fail. You might actually come away with it unscathed, and you might actually say, wait a minute, I actually liked it. I want to try it again. It was like the first time I dived into a swimming pool from one of those really high places, the diving board, if you will. And when I was your age, we went into school and they wanted us, and we didn't have nice PT teachers. I don't know, they call it PT, what coach? Well, swimming coach. Okay, swim coach or gym coach. He was in the water and he said, hey, Sundar, come on, jump. I say, and you are like terrified of him. And you don't know whether I will jump, will I fall on my stomach, what will people think, are they going to laugh at me? But one thing led to the other. I said, you know what, I'm going to jump, I don't care what, because I would rather jump than go back home feeling ashamed of myself that I couldn't do it. And I jumped once, and that's all it needed. Then I realized, wow, it was not bad. When I came out of that water, everybody was saying, yay, man, that's awesome, you did a good job. I quickly ran up, I jumped 10 times because I began to enjoy it. Guess what, if I had not jumped off that diving board that afternoon, I might have gone home thinking, no, I can never do it. And forever, I might have to say, you know what, I had a bad experience, the diving board, I'm never going to do it. And that stays with me as a stigma throughout my life. So that ghost in my closet remains a ghost in the closet. Face the ghost in your closet. Face your fears. Ask yourself, what is this fear? Where did it come from? Can I face it? Can I overcome it? At the same time, like I said, don't do things which will cause harm to yourself. If some silly thing, somebody says, hey, what man, come on, there's nothing wrong in smoking. Stop it. I don't even want to get there. Because you know, it's common sense, right? There is certain common sense which you know that are not good for your health, that is dangerous for your health. or just way outside your value system, then be bold enough to say, no, I'm not going to do that. Like telling lies, for example. Why do I have to tell a lie? I'm willing to face the truth. I'm willing to face the consequences of the truth. I don't scare. I'm not scared. I have made a mistake. I'll tell them I made a mistake. That will make you a much stronger person. That's what I mean. And so thank you for that question.
So, my question is, what do I do when people criticize me just because I'm being myself?
They are actually criticizing you because they are coming from a place of insecurity, perhaps. There are two things. Whenever somebody criticizes you, first, don't resist that criticism. It is better to be criticized than be praised. Because let us say I sing a bhajan, okay? And if everybody says, "Are Sundar, what singing, yaar, very nice, yaar," and I'm like, okay, great. You know what's going to happen? I will never improve on that bhajan, singing. I'm never going to work. I'll say, everybody liked it, I'm good. So is that good or bad? Whereas if a couple of my friends come and say, you know, you did sing well, but hey, can you try it one scale lower? I think when you went high, it was a little too, you didn't sound great in that part. And can you do this or that? Or somebody might turn and say, your singing is not so great, yaar. Now then I have to take this criticism and say, wait a minute, how can I improve on myself? Is there any depth to this criticism? I receive it with respect and I say, all right, can I work on it? And if there is room for improvement, like I said earlier, improve upon it and be grateful for that criticism. But there are also times when people criticize you because they get unnerved seeing you. And for most often than not, that could be a case. Then you have to be loving and kind and say, it's all right. That's who you are. This is who I am. And I will not expect you to praise me. I don't expect you to praise me because you're doing it out of your insecurity. And therefore, it's okay. You be who you are. I will end this with a nice, beautiful example Baba gave. So, one of the chief editors of a leading Indian newspaper approached Baba and said, can I write some nice things about you, Sai Baba? Because so many people are criticizing you and they're saying, you be doing miracles, do this, do that. Can I write nice things about your teachings, about what you're doing to the world? Why are you not putting down those criticisms? Like, why are you letting them do what they have to? Then Baba responded very beautifully. Pay attention to this. He said, almost instantly, now I was listening to this conversation. So he said, have you seen this elephant of mine when she comes all the way during festivals? Sai Gita, he was referring to Sai Gita, his pet elephant. So as she walks down the road all the way a kilometer away, where she has a shed, and she comes all the way decked and coming down the road to meet me, all the street dogs in that road begin to bark at her. Why do you think? They are conscious of their territories. They don't like a big animal walking past, so they keep barking at Sai Gita. Sai Gita, do you think she stops by and pays attention to every single dog and say, how dare you criticize me? I can fling you away from the street. She doesn't care. She doesn't even bother. She keeps walking because she is the elephant. They are dogs. The nature of dogs are to bark. The nature of the elephant is to be calm and secure in knowing that this elephant is much, much more stronger. So, in that context, what Baba meant was, if you are the elephant, you won't worry about the little street dogs that bark at you and say, oh no, you are not this, you are bad, and do this. All right, it's up to you. It's a reflection of who you are, not a reflection of who I am. So if you feel a criticism is unnecessary, unwarranted, don't let that bother you. I know it's easier said than done. Okay, I'm not saying it's easy, but don't let it bother you. Don't change who you are because you want a nice comment from that person. They will find another excuse to criticize you because they are coming from perhaps. You don't have to judge them. You say, you know what? Unfortunately, it's maybe their upbringing, maybe their own personality problem. They have to deal with it. Their criticism does not affect me. If somebody mails you an envelope and you don't sign it with FedEx, that envelope goes back to the person who sends it. So don't accept the criticism. It will go back to them. It becomes a reflection of who they are. It is never a reflection of who you are. So thank you. That was a great question. Take a few moments every day, my dear children. Just take a few moments every day to sit in silence. And in that silence, ask yourself, what do I want to do with my life? How do I want to bring my own uniqueness into my life? What are my uniqueness? How can I develop on my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Face your weaknesses, accept your weakness and say, all right, I get a little impatient. All right, that's my weakness. I'm going to work on it. For my own self, not to get anybody to pat me on my back. I'm not looking for anything, just to enrich who I am. If I cannot do this at this age, guess what? Then you're going to carry on that weakness as you grow older, and it becomes worse and worse. So take few moments of silent sitting. You can call it meditation if you want. You can simply call it silent sitting if you want. You can sit on top of your bed. You can sit on the floor. It's up to you, but take that quality time. This is my time with my inner space, and I'm going to go inside and ask myself, what have I done today? How can I improve the quality of my life? What can I do something better tomorrow? Where did I fail? What kind of weaknesses came up in front of me? Believe me, you will do amazing things in your life. Of this, I have no doubt. Anu auntie has no doubt. She has been non-stop praising each and every one of you. I'm like, okay, I've heard enough of your children, stop it. She's like, no, you have to hear about so-and-so and so-and-so. So each of you have that gift. There are enough people in the Sai family to love you, to praise you, to encourage you. So you're on a great start already. All right? So don't focus on things that are not there in your life. Focus on things you have in your life and work on that, and everything else will fall in place. Thank you all for your patience. I hope this was useful and interesting. Thank you. And I hope to see you all in person someday soon. Sai Ram.